How are you doing? I decided to do a random thoughts video with you guys just to check in and get you up to date with what's going on with me. I actually have a few videos that I wanted to put out, and I'm so upset that I didn't get a chance to do it last week because I felt like we were making such progress last week. And on Tuesday, unfortunately, I found out that my stepfather died. So when that occurred, that put a pause on everything I wanted to do. What's the funny thing is that I was stupid enough to believe that I was still gonna be able to get content out to you, but nope, it didn't happen. So here I am today, just trying to get back in the mood of recording content. And it was funny over the weekend. A lot of the people who know me personally, rather, and watch my channel, reached out to me, and they're not liking and subscribing the video or leaving comments, but they call me. You could tell that we're 50 plus because they still not doing the things you need to do when you're in this new age of technology, which is like, subscribe, and comment. So they call me with their feedback, and I appreciate it because it was nice to hear from some of you. Some of you I haven't talked to in a while, and everybody was like, they liked my random thoughts video. So I was like, hey, I got stuff to talk about. We'll get to a random thoughts video again. And then I have a movie review for you guys that I think will be perfect since we're coming into October and Halloween and everything. And then I'm going to have to pre-record my weekend watching because the funeral is this Friday. So, yeah, it won't be up to date with what's going on actually on Friday. So I guess it'll be like a midweek weekend review because it's going to have details from last week that I didn't get a chance to tell you guys about. And I was mad because there was some good things last weekend. But anyway, so I could do a mashup of last week and this week, and you'll get it on Friday. But just know that it's not up to date. So I have my glass of wine with me today. Oh, that was the thing that I wanted to do. So one of the videos I wanted to do for you guys was on September, what was it, the 21st? I went to Clinkfest, y'all. It was nice. Oh my God. It was, I'm gonna describe it the way I heard this one guy describe it. He said it was like college homecoming. And then I said, not college homecoming. And he said it is if you go to a HBSU. I was like, oh man, see, I missed that because I didn't go to a HBSU. But anyway, it was nice. It was a sea of color, black, brown, all over the place. A sea of vendors with different types of alcohol. They had cognacs and wines and mixers and absinthe and what else? They had cooks, or restaurateurs with samples of their different foods and everything. And because I think I told you guys how I bought my tickets last year, and so I paid 50% off of the ticket. So they allowed anybody who bought their tickets early, a year in advance, to come in an hour early before the public. And oh, it was so nice. It wasn't as many people. So I stayed for about 2 hours with one of my friends, and long story short, it was just wonderful. That was enough for me. I got nice and what's the word? Tipsy. That's it. I got nice and tipsy at the event, especially after I had the absinthe, y'all. I've never had absinthe. And so they're telling me about how it's not true that you see hallucinations. It's not true that you this and that. But I'll tell you it, that stuff is potent. And so what's funny is that they also make a syrup to go with the absinthe. And so at first, when I first tasted it, all I tasted was anise, which is like licorice. And I was like, ooh. But once she mixed it with her syrup, oh, dang, that stuff went down nice. And it got me so tipsy. I don't know if some of you guys know that after my surgery, I sometimes have to walk with a cane. I'm trying to get off the cane, but if I know I'm going to be at an event where there's a lot of walking or long lines, I take the cane with me just in case. And so, yeah, I needed the cane at this event. When I tell you, I was so tipsy that I couldn't even stand straight with the cane. I'm going to all the different tables with the vendors. I got to this one table and they were like, "You want to try some of our wine?" And I said, "I would." And I was kind of slurring. But I said, "I'm too tipsy." I said, "I'm so tipsy, I can't stand straight with this cane." And the woman said, "Not you can't stand straight with a cane." She said, "How you get that tipsy?" I said, "It was that absinthe." And I said, "I'm gonna have to go see some of the vendors with the food before I drink anymore. I'm sorry." Anyway, I'm going to create a video. Oh my God, man, a video. I haven't even started drinking yet. Like, I just poured this glass and I haven't had anything, and I'm still messing up my words. But anyway, what was my point? My point is that I'm gonna put together a video. It'll probably be in 2 weeks because, like I said, the funeral is this week, and the movie review, I've already gotten the visuals together. You just need the video of me. In the weekend, TV watching, or oh, that's another thing. Well, I'll come back to that. But the weekend review, I could put that out. That's not a big thing. Um, but the Clinkfest footage is gonna take a while because I'm gonna need to edit stuff. Because it was talking, and like the friend that went with me, I'm trying to shoot video, and she's talking, and I'm like, "Can you stop talking so I can shoot?" Anyway, so that was my weekend, not last weekend, but the weekend before, on the 21st, what I was going through. So now it seems like I'm forever going to be giving you stories about them steps. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to cause any family drama. So from my perspective, I'm just going to say I've been dealing with a lot. And um, I have step siblings and I have half siblings, which I told you. And the step siblings, this is their father. And like I explained in the previous video, how my mother, when she got married, she was like, "He's not replacing your daddy. Your daddy is still your daddy." And she was like, "This is just my husband." And so it was always, that's my mom's husband, not necessarily my stepfather, unless I'm conducting business for him And so it's pertinent that I show my relationship to him and I say my mama's husband. Because let's see how far you get if you say my mama's husband when you're conducting business on his behalf. They be like, oh, I can't give you nothing. But if you say stepdaughter, they don't even say stepdaughter like when they're coming back. They say, okay, you're his daughter. Da, 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 da. And so I just let it flow, just to get the business done. Anyway, so back to my point. What was my point? Oh, so finding out that he was deceased was a trip. Now, as I mentioned, I handle both of their finances. And I'm the one that got him in the nursing home. Now, his oldest daughter, she stepped up to be his power of attorney because I said, I can't take care of him and my mother, and I'm going into the hospital because I had major surgery over the summer, as you guys should know by now if you're watching my videos. So I was like, you guys are going to need to take over. Hence why the oldest became his medical power of attorney. So when we found out that the end was near and that they were putting him in hospice, she volunteered me to do the funeral, right? Because the hospice wanted to know who was doing everything, right? And hospice, the person that reached out to me, the representative, she was really nice and cool and everything. And she was like, okay, so I'm going to contact you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so basically, none of that happened. The only thing that happened was at 8 in the morning, they called my mother. And as I've told you guys, my mother is going through her issues. And so she's a little confused first thing in the morning. And so what she does is she refers everybody to me. So 8 in the morning, I get a call. And it's the nursing home, and they're telling me that he's about to make his transition. And so this, that, and the third, da, 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 right? Okay. So they said they'll call me once he passes away. Well, I don't hear anything. And I guess I'm a worker bee. I don't know if I've discussed this with you guys that I have ADHD, and so like my mind, and I'm an overthinker. My mind just goes all right. And so with me being a worker bee, I'm like, okay, this needs to get done. This needs to get done. So I'm making a list in my head of all that needs to get done. And so one of the things was I was like, okay, we need to do the obituary. And I was like, I don't know this man like that. So then I said, why am I writing it? This is their daddy. And so I said, I'm going to have his daughter write it. Now there's 5 of them, but I'm talking about the oldest. I thought that she would be able to, handle it best because she had the best relationship with her dad out of the 5. And that's from my perspective. Let's put it that way. Okay. For all I know, they didn't have a good relationship. I don't know, but I'm just saying from my perspective, they had the best relationship. So I text her like a 9:45. Hey, it's my understanding that you know that your dad is transitioning. And so I was like, do you mind writing the obituary? And so if you know her, then you know this is how she's talking. She was like, okay. And I'm talking like her, but mind you, we're texting. But this is how I hear her in my head. Okay. Anyway. And so that happens at 9:45. Then I don't know what I'm doing that day. Everything is a blur until I get an email from the oldest, but the other 4 siblings were CC'd. And so she was giving me the details, the basic details for the obituary. And in the email trail, I see that one of the other siblings said, "Hi, I hope your recovery went well. Um, what are we doing with the funeral planning? Have arrangements been made since I've been notified that my no, he said our father is dead." I'm like, dang, nobody called me. So I called my mom. I'm like, hey, have you heard from the nursing home since this morning? And she's like, no. I said, okay, I'll call you back. So then I called the nursing home and I'm like, hi, this is such and such. I'm calling on behalf of such and such. I just heard from my step siblings that their father died. And they were like, yes, we're sorry for your loss. And so then I'm like, um, nobody called my mom. Nobody called me. What happened? What? Nobody called you? Yeah, nobody called me. So she's like, let me transfer you to somebody. So this is, if you want to tick me off, transfer me to somebody and it go to voicemail on something I think is important. So she's like, she gonna transfer to me somebody, and it went to voicemail. So hung up, called back. Yeah, I just called, and whoever you transferred me to, I got their voicemail. So I need to speak to somebody to find out why his wife was not notified. So, well, I was trying to send you to the nurse, but okay, I'll send you to such and such. And so they send me to that person. And so, yeah, he died at such and such. He died like an hour later. And I'm like, okay, so why didn't anybody notify me? Well, I don't know. Are you on the list? Yes, I'm on the list. Well, he has so many people on the list. And so just to clarify how that happens. So because his kids, especially the oldest one, wanted to make decisions on behalf of her father medically because, like I said, I told them to handle their dad and I would take care of my mom. They're listed, and when I say they're, it's the oldest and then the next oldest are listed as contacts for medical. I'm listed as the contact for financial. And my mother's on there as well. But what kept happening is the oldest wasn't answering the phone. And so my mother and I were getting the calls. And like I said, my mother's confused. And so she defers to me. But then I'm like, this isn't my father. So I gave them the number to the next oldest child to make the medical decisions. But like I said, when they were explaining how hospice goes, they said since I'm paying the bills and then also the oldest, she deferred to me and said that I was going to plan the funeral. I was supposed to be notified. And I just naturally thought that my mother being his wife, even though she may be impaired, that they would still give a courtesy call. Nope, that didn't happen. So I'm trying to find out why things didn't happen the way they told me things are going to happen. And so I admit it. When I'm pissed, I can be a little nice nasty. I'm sorry, because I'm just picturing those of you who know me. You probably seen my nice nasty in action, so you can just imagine how I was. And so I escalated to the director of the nursing home, basically, because I wasn't getting answers. And so what's funny is that she said, well, I'm sorry, Mz.ChiGurl. She was like, um, there's just so many people on this list. We normally don't call everybody. And we thought that once we told his daughter that she would just naturally tell you guys. And I said, okay. But mind you, I had other things on my mind because the day before he died, I just made his payment for October. And so I said, can you transfer me to billing? I need to talk about the payment I made yesterday. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm not emotionally connected, because I don't know if I would have been thinking about the money if I was emotionally connected. Whereas since I'm not emotionally connected, I'm like, I'm gonna need that money back. Getting a voicemail, so then I'm hitting up front desk, and I'm like, you need to page her. 'Cause I need to talk to her ASAP. So finally, they had me on hold. I don't know how long, and she said she must be in a meeting because she's not answering. I said, okay. I gave them all my information. I said, make sure she calls me today, please. I need to talk to her about billing. So fast forward, I go back to the email with the step siblings and also the text message. And I don't know if I text messaged my sister. I don't feel like looking through the text. But I may have said, I just found out that your dad died. Sorry, I didn't know. Condolences, da 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 da. And so I said, when can we? I said, if you guys want input on the funeral, I said, I think we should talk to my mother first. And so I said, when will you guys be available? To have a conversation. Um, Please reply back with your availability. So at first, like I said, this happened on Tuesday. I'm getting emails saying Wednesday at this time, Wednesday at that time. Then mofos start putting in Friday, Saturday. And I'm like, see, this is some nonsense. What the heck? We wait until Friday and Saturday to plan a funeral. So I'm like, I said, you know what? And this is me saying it to myself silently. I need to protect my peace. So I called my mom once I saw what they were saying, and my mom was like, she didn't feel like talking. Whatever I want to do, it's fine. If they want to participate and have input, that's fine. But she was like, um, that she doesn't want to deal with them, da da da. So I said, okay, that's fine. So I reply back, and this is where I'm protecting my myself and my peace. And so I'm like, okay, what specific question? I said, well, first of all, I said, we can't wait till Friday or Saturday, to plan a funeral. I said, so do you guys, I said, since it's 5 of you, would you like to plan the funeral? And I said, if you plan the funeral, then I don't want to participate. So you would be responsible for any associated costs. But I said, if you want me to do it, then let me know. And, I'll move forward. My mother has advised that there's no need for a conversation, so I just need to know what the details are and when she needs to show up. That's what I said. So then I get a follow-up email. I replied again. And I think I might read this because I think I was funny. At least it's funny to me. Okay, here it is. I said, let me put it plainly. My mother has shared that no phone call is needed with her. She's comfortable with you all planning the funeral if that's what you wish to do. Her only request is that both the wake and the funeral take place at the funeral home. If you like to include a ceremony, burial, and or cremation, that's entirely up to you. The 5 of you are welcome to handle the planning and associated costs. I won't be participating in the arrangements, so please let me know the finalized date and time so I can ensure my mother's present. So that's when they came back. I want to know about my daddy and what you talking about and blah, blah, blah. And so I said, it's up to you what you would like to do. I said, I just replied to such based on, let's say, X-Man's first inquiry. I said, again, if you guys plan it, then you're paying for it. I won't be participating in the arrangement, so just let me know the finalized date and time so I can ensure my mother is present. If I plan it, my mother will pay. What was that movie? Build the Dreams. If you build it, they will come. That's kind of what I did. Anyway, so then the email responses became, you can plan it. So that's what I did. I've been planning the funeral. And I respect that the children want to have input, but the reason why I was saying that I felt like it was some nonsense is because, like, the youngest daughter said that he wasn't her father, and every time I referred to him as her father, she got upset via email. And so I'm like, what do you want me to call him? Your sperm donor? I know that's blunt, but sometimes that's me because I don't have time for nonsense. So you say you want to write your father's obituary, but yet you were just arguing with me that this man wasn't your father. And when I kept referring to him as your father, you got mad. So I said, he's a sperm donor. I don't know what else to call him. You know, I felt father was neutral. Daddy and dad and pops, those are more personalized. I mean, like, if you really have a relationship with your father, like, it was so funny when my half sibs and I went to the floral um place to do the flower arrangements and everything. And so they said, do you want something on the wreath? And then we were like, what do you mean? And so they were like, what do you all call him? And so 4 out of his 5 kids said daddy. And so, see, that's what I'm saying. That was more affectionate. And I mean, we're all grown and we all called him daddy. I was 40 at the time, which means that some of my siblings were in their 50s, some of them were in their 20s. So all of us, all grown, still called him daddy. Whereas these kids, we can't even agree to call him father. So I was like, I'm not dealing with it. I'm like, what input could you have anyway? Because everything had been prearranged by my mother in advance. And she made me the contingent person if she wasn't able to do it. So I'm like, unless you guys plan to contribute financially, then yeah, you can have your say. If you want a wreath that says father, daddy, whatever you want to call him, make the arrangement. Pay for it. But I'm not going to be dealing with a bunch of, well, he's not my daddy and he's not my daddy and I don't know it. I don't know. If you don't know nothing, what you got to contribute? I'm sorry. And I know this is bad, but I'm saying maybe if things were dealt with better with putting him in the nursing home, they had 3 months to put him in a nursing home. Anyway, as I was saying, so I just couldn't deal with it. It was just too much for me. But what's funny is that I went into worker bee mode, and so I started doing all the things and making all the calls and all this stuff. I followed up with his oldest daughter about the obituary. She and the youngest daughter got together and they created an obituary. I found out later they really didn't add much to it. They actually, because his brother died last year, they copy pasted the brother's obituary, added a sentence, and then that was it. And so I was like, oh God. So then I wound up having to write the obituary. I asked them for pictures. Nobody sent me pictures. So I just went with the pictures that I have. Um, I then had to start looking for vendors. So I wound up taking my mother to the funeral home, which she said she didn't want to go to. But they said that even though I have her power of attorney, they said that it makes it more complicated for the power of attorney to sign off on everything. So I needed her to sign off. So I'm like, you going, woman. So then this is the next thing that irritated me is that I found out that before a funeral, somebody has to identify the body. I don't know if you guys know me. I don't do funerals. I don't do dead things. And I'm not just talking people. I don't do nothing dead. I will not touch it. Like in biology, I did not dissect the worm, the frog, whatever, and got a D in the class because I didn't do it. Because I'm not touching nothing dead. So my mother was like, don't look at me. I'm not going to do it. So I called his daughter while I'm on the phone. Can you identify your dad's body? And that was funny. Why do I have to do it? Because they said that somebody needs to identify and make sure that's him in the casket before they close it. So you know it's gonna be closed casket. Um, and but I was at the nursing home, and I was there when they collected the body. So can't they just chain of custody? She was like, chain of custody. They got it from the nursing home or the body from the nursing home. I was there. I saw them do it, and then they took possession. Can we just do it like that? And they were like, no. And so she said, I don't want to see my father like that. So I said, okay. So knowing how the rest of them are, I was like, you know what? Okay. I'll identify the body. And so she was like, all you got to do. And so she explained the process to me. And she said, since it's closed casket, we're going to cover him, in shroud. And we can show you his face. You got to look at him. And then, you can stay there as long as you want. I said, no. I said, I'm going to be standing a few feet away. I'm going to look. That's him. And I'm out. That's how that's going to go. And she was like, okay. So anyway. So then I asked her for vendors' names. I'm like, do you have a caterer? Do you have a printer for the obituaries? Do you have a florist? So she gives me, these people's information. Called a caterer. I asked her, I said, I've never done this before, So folks, this is something that if you haven't already done it, this is what we're gonna be doing now that we're older. So we're the generation now that has to plan the family funerals. Especially if you're the oldest or you're like me, you're an only child. This is the stuff you gonna be dealing with. So anyway, I'm sorry. So I called the caterer that she gave me, spoke to the caterer. The person that she gave me a whole menu, and I said, that's a lot. I said, I think it's only gonna be about 35 of us. I said, I'm not sure. And she was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. And so she gave me this price. And I said, okay, can you send me an invoice? Because I want to know what I'm being charged for. And she said, okay, I could text it to you. And I said, nah, that's not going to work. I said, I'm going to need an email invoice. I said, this is for my mother for tracking purposes of where her money is being spent. And so she was like, okay, I'll send you an email in an hour. So she sends me the invoice via email, and it was very, to me, not professional. And it wasn't itemized, so it didn't tell me what she was charging me for what, but it said $750 for food. I'm like, $750 for 35 people? I paid that. when it was like 100 people. Now, mind you, that was 20 years ago for my mother's birthday. So I understand food prices have gone up. That's why I wanted an itemized bill. Long story short, I have a great support system of friends. Thank you, friends, for reaching out to me. So one of my friends reached out to me and was like, do I need help with anything? And I said, hey, do you know any vendors as far as caterers? So she gave me the name of a few places, and I had her look at the price, and she was like, yeah, that's a lot for that. But what's funny is that I had another friend look at it, and that friend was like, no, that's reasonable. You may want to, grab her up. And so that I guess that kind of shows you how people's, thoughts about prices, vary about what's reasonable and not reasonable. And it's hard to say in this economy. I mean, this economy as far as groceries is so jacked up. Like for $150, I might get 5 items at the grocery store. It's ridiculous. Like me buying food for my mother and for my household is crazy. And so like people I think well, I'm just saying it's just a lot. Oh, and mind you, all of this is going on with my last week of work. So I'm officially laid off, y'all, as of Friday. So I think this is funny. I'm going to just tell you. So I find out, like I said, on Tuesday that my stepfather passed away. So by the time I find out, my work day is over. So I call HR and I'm like, my last day is Friday. Do I still get bereavement? And they're like, oh yeah, you get 5 days. And I said, well, today is Tuesday, and I only got 3 more days of work. So do I still get 5 days? And he was like, oh no. So he said your last 3 days can be bereavement. I'm like, cool. So my last day was Tuesday, and I took bereavement for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because I got tired of just pushing the mouse around because they didn't have no work for me. And I know that seems like crazy, like, girl, just push your mouse around. But honestly, it was a bother. I didn't feel like being at my desk for 8 hours every day doing nothing. And I would do all that I could do while I was at my desk. But by the midday, I was done. So I didn't feel like sitting here no more. So pushing the mouse, it just wasn't working for me. Anyway, so uh back to my point. So my last day was Friday, and it was a little grieving process for me because I think I told you guys I've been at my company for 24 years. I've only been there 17 years straight because I left for a year and I came back. So I did 7 years, then I came back and did 17 years for a total of 24. Now, when it comes to, I told you I'm one of the people who got laid off, and I did get a severance package. And so I got a severance package for 17 years, and they do 2 weeks for every year. And so I was concerned about taxes and stuff. And so I heard two different stories from two different people. Now, I didn't do the math, but like loosely, I'm doing the math in my head. So I was expecting to get less than what I did because of what they told me as far as taxes. But I actually got a decent amount to live on for a little while so I can get myself together. Because honestly, I need it. There's no way I can work right now with all the stuff going on with me. Another thing that's been happening with me as a result of, I'm saying, you know, I think it is a trauma to get laid off from a job that you've been doing for 24 years. And I've never been laid off from a job. Yes, I quit my job 17 years ago, and that was my choice. So I had to live with my consequences. But this time, it's me actually being laid off, and I've never been laid off or AKA fired. And so, and I'm older. I'm having to deal with that and stuff. I'm not going to get into it too much because I wanted to do a follow-up video to I am one of the 300,000 Black women who's been laid off. So I'm not going to get into it. But I'm just going to say that I think I was going through a little of a depression. And it's not like a regular depression that I've gone through in the past. It was different. And so add on top of that, planning a funeral for your mother's husband, and then being worried about your mother. So my mother has gotten worse as far as her mental capacity. And so I contacted her doctors and tried to get her into the doctor for today. And the woman absolutely refused to go. So it's hard to deal with a parent who acts like a child, but is an adult and know they're an adult, and they won't cooperate. Them mofos are hard headed. I'm telling you, your parents who are having their second childhood, they hard headed. They know they grown, but they still act like kids, and so that's been an ordeal too. And so, like even today, um, first of all, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say the older people, like my mother's generation, they're so inconsiderate to me. I'm sorry to say that. That might sound harsh, but I told you that's me sometimes. I'm blunt, I'm harsh, I'm all those things sometimes. So her beautician, she had an appointment for Wednesday to get her hair done for Friday. The beautician called and said that she thinks it would be better for my mother to get her color on Thursday night and then to get her hair actually pressed on Friday morning before the funeral. And my mom was confused and did what I told you she does. Send everybody to Miss Shy Girl. So I get a call at 8 this morning. I'm disoriented because I'm asleep because I keep late hours. And so she calls me with this stuff and I'm like, okay, I got it. And then later on, I'm like, what the This stupid. And so then I talked to my mom and she was all confused about it. I said, you know what? I'm calling your beautician back and I'm telling her either she needs to do it Thursday night or she needs to do it Friday morning. But I don't even think Friday morning is good because we're getting ready for the funeral. I'm like, this is crazy. She originally had you for Wednesday. So actually, she either needs to do you Wednesday or Thursday. One of the two. I'm not doing two things of trying to get my mom somewhere. And so I told the beautician, she had a little bit of an attitude and she was like, I might have to, uh, show up at her house on Friday. And I'm like, well, just so you know, my mom isn't concerned about her hair like that. She's going to get her hair done. And she said, if it don't last till Friday, she's putting on a hat. So the beautician didn't like that. But I'm like, whatever. I'm not arguing with the woman. She said she'll wear a hat. She gonna wear a hat. I don't care at this point. So then, what I also had to deal with today is I was trying to plan the service, and my mother belongs to a church. She's been with her church for, I want to say, over 25 years. I don't know why she don't want to have the church. I'm not gonna question it. Actually, I did question it. That's a lie. But I'm not gonna tell y'all what she said. But what I did do is I contacted the church, and so they're gonna, read the eulogy and benediction and all that stuff and do musical selections. Because I was gonna play a Spotify and bring my Bluetooth, and we were gonna do music, with the Bluetooth because we didn't have a choir. And so they said no, they're gonna send somebody over, and I was like, but you haven't told me the people. So I've been calling them all weekend saying, hey, you guys need to let me know who's coming so that I could put that in the program so I could get the program to the printers so that we could get the programs created. So the other thing that happened was I've been trying to find a printer because the printer that the funeral home referred me to, I ain't like them. Basically, I'm gonna just put it to you this way: I didn't like any of the referrals that the funeral home gave me. So I had to look for all the other stuff myself. So my mother lives in a building, a condo building, and so the condo board or whatever they call them, association, said they were sending flowers, and I said, "Oh, who you using for a florist?" And so the board president told me one name, and it was another name, and so of course I'm searching the name he gave me and couldn't find it. So I'm like, "F it." So I went to Google. I look at Google reviews. I was trying to do black owned. The black owns apparently are closed on Saturday. So I wound up going with other just so I can get the floor arrangements done. So check, got that off the list. So next, the last thing I needed was getting a printer. So the church, after I dealt with my mom's beautician, they called me after that. So it was like 8:30 when I got that call. So it's the church. I wake up and they were like, "Okay, we got the stuff for you. You got a pen and paper?" So I'm like, "Yeah." And so they see that I don't know the stuff. And so they're like, "Okay, I'm going to walk you through it." And so they walked me through the order of service and all that stuff. Did all that. And then before I got off the phone, they were like, "Is there anything else you need?" And I said, "Do you know good florists?" And so, of course, they did. Gave me the florist. The florist was perfect. She's exactly what I was looking for. She has a website. She's like, upload your draft, or you could do it manually. And I was like, "Here's everything. I need 50 programs. I need it by Friday. Let me know how much it is and I'll pay." You know? So it's perfect. So I love it. Um, so I pretty much got everything done. So the only thing that I'm having to do is, my mother. So I'm having to call the insurance company to notify them that my stepfather has passed away. My mother is telling me she has two, and I'm like, "I only see one." I said, "I'm online, I only see one." So I get a representative on the phone. Representative only sees one. Now they were fine talking to me until they found the second policy because my mother did give me the policy number. Then they said, "Okay, we need to get your mother on the phone." So then we get your mother on the phone, which is my mother. And turns out my mother is giving me her policy number. She said, "This policy is for your mother, not your stepfather." So I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And I'm like, "Mom, why didn't you give me the policy for you?" And she was like, "Well, I told you I had two." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're not deceased. I only needed the one. We're reporting that he died. You not dead. So I didn't need your info." And so I got a little abrupt with my mother. Oh, see, Chloe's in the video. And so I got abrupt with my mom. She's like a kid. She was like, "Why are you mad?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, mommy. I'm sorry." So I was like, "Okay, I need to finish making calls. I'll talk to you later." And so that's what happened with that. Anyway, so I decided that my money comes in tomorrow. So I'm going to the spa. I was going to do it tomorrow and realized I gotta go to the doggone funeral home. So I'm going to try and go to the spa on Wednesday, and I'm getting the works because I've earned it. And anybody that got something to say about me spending money on this spa can kiss my butt. So these are my random thoughts for today. Uh, Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for checking in with me. Please don't forget to like this video. I really need you guys to like it instead of calling me. Before you call me, you better like it. Because when you call me, I'm going to say, did you like the video? Because you calling me to tell me how much you like the video, I love to hear it. But like the video. Before you sign off, did you like this video? Anyway, I think that's everything. So, thank you for joining me. And I will try to get more content out to you this week. I'm just going to say one more thing about Clinkfest before I get done. I am so mad that I didn't understand how it worked. So at Clinkfest, they give all the tables have a QC code. And I thought that was just so I can go on the website to order this stuff. No, you actually could have bought their bottles of alcohol or their products at the venue, but you would have to do it first online and then it would be waiting for you in another location to pick up. And I didn't realize that. And they had some of the best wines and mixers and stuff that I've had. And like right now, I'm just going to give a free advertisement to XXL Blackberry. It tastes like sangria to me, so I love this. But what I love about XXL is that it's 16% alcohol. And so it gives you a nice buzz. So, and also I'll give a shout out to the other alcohol that I drink. So I go to Benny's liquor store. I don't know if that's a national thing or just in Illinois, but Benny's Liquor Depot, I think is what it's called. They have this wine. It's from, am I drinking some wine from Portugal or Spain? I don't remember, but it's a tawny port, and it's really good. And it gives me a nice buzz too. I want to say it might have 14% alcohol. And so it gets the job done too. Anyway, I'm wrapping it up. Just in case you were curious about what I was drinking, that's what I drink. XXL Moscato. And I have to look up the name of the tawny port that I drink. And that was something that I was explaining too at the Clinkfest. Some people, I wouldn't drink their wine. I would tell them, I said, let me just tell you what my palate is. I said, I'm into sweet wines. I said, I'll do a Riesling, I'll do a Moscato, I do a tawny port, and I said, I can't pronounce this, but a German witch. And they would laugh and knew what I was talking about. And they were like, okay, I got it. And so I'm like, here's your wine in that frame. And they'd be like, no. And I said, I'm most likely not going to like it. But for then, those who knew what I was talking about, they're like, yeah, you're going to like it. And there were a lot that I liked. I even ran into this brand that I saw on the Funky Dineva show, and I'm going to put the link in the description. They're called Cashmere Luxe. They're located in Atlanta, and Funky actually had them on his show 2 weeks ago. And they have a luxury cognac, and he was talking about how smooth it was. Maybe I'm not a cognac drinker because I was like, when I tasted it, it wasn't necessarily that good to me. But what I liked about it is that their label is etched in the bottle. So it's not a peel off or glue on label. They actually etched it in the bottle. And I thought that was so luxurious. And so I was willing to try it. That stuff was $65 a bottle. Now I don't know again how much cognac is, but that was a little bit out of my price range for something that I thought was, yeah. And so then they said that I could get the discount for the people who watched the Funky Dineva video, which was 10% off. And that took it, I think, to 56, but that's what taxes. Long story short, I was like, I don't know about this. And so I'm just mad that I didn't get a chance to buy any of the wines that I did like. I will shout them out, the ones that I did like in my video. But I'm going to Clinkfest Fest next year. And that was one of the things I wanted to tell you about in my weekend events, that they sold 50 tickets. So for the first 50 tickets, you could get the tickets for $50 for their anniversary, because next year is going to be their anniversary. Ooh, excuse me. And so I bought, excuse me, 2 anniversary tickets. Oh, also, the day my father or stepfather died, I was supposed to go to Benny's to see Taraji P. Henson. She's, doing a tour about her wine, Seven Daughters. Because it was the day my stepfather died, I just couldn't go. So I didn't get a chance to make it there. I really wanted to meet Taraji and talk about the event and stuff on here, but hey, that's the way life goes. So thank you again for joining me. I appreciate all of you. Welcome to all my new subscribers who have followed me on YouTube. I appreciate you. I love you all. And we'll talk soon. Bye.